We'll go headphones just so we can hear everything.
All right.
Oh yeah. You don't have to go headphones if you don't want.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. We don't get that. Yeah. Gotta go that. That
me.
is you.
It's
man.
me.
Okay. So yeah, it's fine. We'll go. We're good. We're good. We're just having a conversation, my bro.
Well, I'll ask you about that.
No, go. You could. We're good. Because we're gonna edit this.
Are we live right now?
Yeah, we're live, but we can edit. So I was gonna say like tomorrow, if for some reason there's something you didn't like, I'll cut it out.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
no, man, I totally forgot what I was going to ask you. So the nature of the pod, you would consider this a podcast or a vlog?
Well, it's a podcast and a vlog. Oh no,
Okay.
it's just a podcast. I upload it to my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just for people who like to watch and listen.
I'm a visual guy, and so when I see your posts, I'm like, I try to look for the video links, and it's like I don't always find every.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't make it
upload
easy.
Everything.
Everything's on my. It's on a link. Yeah, everything's on the YouTube.
Okay.
I'll show you everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was because I was like, yeah, man, I listen to podcasts, but I'm more of a visual kind of guy.
Yeah.
So when you post stuff on your stuff, like you have like the little clips, right? The little trailers, I guess you could call them. And I'm like, okay, I can't wait to just like see what this is about, but I never find it. And so haven't really found a full episode except for, I think there was one that I watched with, I think it was, you had, a gal and her dude, like a donut shop thing, I think.
Oh yeah, that was like our second episode. Yeah.
So that one I found, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
is our link not on the Instagram? Like that'll lead you straight to the YouTube channel? How embarrassing.
It probably is. It just was like I didn't find it.
No,
anyhow.
not at all.
No, go straight to the Apple Podcasts.
Oh, okay. Thank you, dude.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Thank
There
you.
you
Look
go.
at that. We learn something every day. Our own Instagram is not up to par. So, dude, you brought me some whiskey here.
I did. So yeah, like I told you. So last year, I started getting into whiskey, and I nowadays I'm typically more Irish whiskey. I like Jameson.
Yes, sir.
That's my go-to. But I tried Conor McGregor's Proper 12.
Hey.
Bro, it's not. It's actually quite good. It goes down smooth. But yeah, last year I started getting into whiskey, and I was in Trader Joe's, and I said, wow, let me try their bourbon. And the first sip, I was like, it's actually not that bad. And the reason why I brought this to you today, was as I told you, but some of you guys don't know. So I moved from California last year to New York, Rochester, and there is a Trader Joe's there in one of the suburbs. But in the grocery stores, they don't allow you to sell liquor. You can only sell beer. You can't sell wine or liquor in the grocery store. You can only sell beer. And on the flip side, in the liquor stores, you can't sell beer. It's weird. I don't know what the whole
What's up with that, New York?
Why the laws are like that. And so I couldn't find this in Trader Joe's, and so I couldn't wait to get back to California and try some. So I actually did have a sip before we started recording,
Nice.
and it's still not bad.
One common thing with the Tapioca Talk podcast is we drink a lot of whiskey on this
You do?
podcast, so
Okay,
it's perfect.
okay.
Have you had Redbreast before?
No,
Redbreast
I've
whiskey.
not.
So when we first started the podcast, I just knew like, okay, we're gonna need some drinks. So I grabbed like the first bottle off of my shelf at the house. It's been sitting there for years, and it's really good. Not sponsored or anything, but it's just whenever a guest feels like they need to loosen up, I give them the Redbreast.
Yeah.
So we didn't bring it today, but a suggestion is look for some Redbreast.
How did you, like a question back to you, how did you get into whiskey?
Well, as you know, like we were back in college, we were big into parties.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And all we would drink is Hennessy.
Right.
And
that's more cognac though, like on the sweeter side of things.
I
right?
reached my max on Hennessy, and I was like fuck this. And then one day Alden brought some whiskey. He brought some what was it again? He brought some Jameson. Okay. He's like, what is this? And then he's like, this is what everybody drinks now. And I was like, all right. So he gave, and I haven't stopped since. Like whiskey's been my main thing.
Yeah.
But you know what's weird? Yesterday at the draft, we tried LeBron James and the Terramana from The Rock. Really good.
Wait,
I am
LeBron James has his own whiskey?
I didn't know that. No, excuse me. Not whiskeys. Tequilas.
Okay.
I don't like tequila at all.
I'll have a margarita. But you got to try the George Clooney tequila, bro.
George Clooney. Dude, all these actors and famous people do tequila.
No, I'm not even playing. Like last year, one of my boys, I was at his daughter's birthday, and he was like, "You got to try this. Probably the smoothest.
Yeah. Can you get that for me?
One of the smoothest drinks that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Straight up. So George Clooney.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
I forget what it's called.
Okay, now I'm going to Google it. Cool. So I'll check out that. But, I know that's a little off topic, but try those LeBron James and the Terramana from The Rock. Really good. But after I had the Jameson that Alden had suggested to me, bada bing, bada boom, man, I was just like, whiskey is my thing.
Huh.
I don't like the dry age stuff where it's super like peaty and smoky. Have you had those yet?
That would be more the Scotch realm of whiskey.
Yeah. Have you had those before?
I have.
Disgusting to me.
It's all right. I've tried
No offense
I've tried
to-
Scotch, but I think I'm more whiskey bourbon kind of
Gotcha.
guy. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Oh, I had some Japanese whiskey yesterday for the first time. Delicious.
Oh, nice. All right.
Delicious, yeah. Isn't it crazy how you can just get like so nerdy into something like just like one thing like whiskey, right?
It's
so cool.
it could be with anything, right? Camera equipment,
Yeah.
or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just like when you really find something that you're really into, passionate about, something that you really like, that catches your interest. It's yeah, you can really geek out on those things super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we do a cheers?
We should.
I'll let you do it.
We
I'll let you do it.
All right, like from right here.
Yeah. What do
Hey,
you?
bro.
Cheers
Let's
to us.
To us.
So that's beautiful, man. To a long friendship, man. Okay.
Yo, yes,
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Really,
I'm telling you, man. Like when I first had it, I'm telling you.
dude, this is good.
It's not bad. It is not bad. Like I would consider this one of if it was available in Rochester, it would be my go-to to serve to guests.
Yeah.
Because you would a Maker's Mark would be one of those standards that you can offer to guests that's a quality whiskey, right? And so I would put this up there with that. And so
Wow, that goes down nice too. I feel all warm and jiggly inside.
Yep.
Jiggly. Well, I am definitely jiggly.
But man, it's
Wow.
crazy to think that I'm here.
Yeah.
Because you just said we just toasted to our friendship, and it's like just like where because we really haven't. I followed you on Facebook, and I'm following your life, and like super proud of like where you've come from, right? From the days of just like spending the night at your house, tagging along with you and Dean and all those guys at SIP, and me trying to be a b-boy. And
Hey, dude, you were there, man.
I have one move, man, and it's a windmill. That's all I got.
I know, but you were ready to bust it out at the perfect opportune moments, dude.
I actually did bust it out a few weeks ago at Kids Ministry.
I saw, and that was dope. That was dope. I was like, my guy. I saw.
Oh, trying to stay relevant, man, with the kids.
Yeah,
So,
I enjoy your Facebook from afar. Like, I really do.
right on,
And
man.
just,
right on.
I have to say, like, I've been like itching to get you on this podcast. I was like, oh, I got to take advantage of the fact that you're coming to
It's
California,
kind of
dude.
weird. I was like, hey, man, because when when you told me, like, hey, you want to get on a podcast? And I was like, my life isn't really that amazing. And so
Maybe just because I know you.
well, I guess amazing. It's like in the sense of like, it's not that glamorous. I guess I would be. I like sharing my story in the sense of like just where my faith journey has taken me, and so yeah, man, it's just it's crazy. Like because even as we're chatting, like memories are just coming back. Like I'd walk to your freaking house, from Sassoon.
Yeah,
which my
dude.
parents don't like. My parents don't even have that house anymore.
Yeah.
We'd walk all the way to your house, and that's crazy. That is crazy.
Like one thing I respect about people the most, or like people that I look up to, I'm not just saying that because you're in front of me, but people that know how to change, or that not know how, but people that can change. Those are just people or stories I've always been drawn to for some reason. Cause I guess maybe it's a personal thing. It's so hard for me to adjust to change. And if, for our listeners, if you've known Dennis as long as I have, it's almost like you've led 3-4 lives already. You know what I mean? And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it amazes me how people can just say, "Oh, you know what? Not doing this anymore."
Well,
you know what I mean? And like that's so cool to me.
Just to share a little bit about my story, or to that idea or the topic of change. I didn't really change myself. That's the thing about it, right? To your viewers out there, I've known Reese.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, that's my real name.
I don't know what else to call you, because
please.
that's all I've ever called you, bro.
Yeah. Let's go, Reese. That's okay, man.
Well, like, do people call you RJ?
Yeah, it's weird. Ever since I graduated college, nobody has really called me Reese except for you, your brother, and Jason Arance.
That's all I know. Like, even
but Reese is fine.
Yeah, if you're cool with that, because it is your name.
That is my real name. Yeah.
Your government name.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I've known you since I moved here in '97.
Straight out of Japan.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Middle school, and so the whole idea of change, man. Like, back in, I really didn't change myself. With tracing back and reflecting on my story, when I came here from Japan, we were like living on base in Japan at Sugi Naval Air Base. We listened to all the gangster rappers,
yes, sir.
Eazy, all them guys, right? For Tupac, and you just were enthralled or captivated by that culture. And I think a part of it has to do being born in the Philippines, and just coming from the slums of the Philippines. I was born in Tondo, Manila, and that is just one of, like, just Oakland times 10 back in the day. Still is, like, but just, I guess that resonated with me, and so it just always attracted to that. But when I moved to Travis, and that was like this 8th grade was the first time I ever smoked weed. Living on a base in Japan, too. Like, you didn't have access to all that stuff, right? And you move stateside and you have all this stuff, right? And so it was just middle school and then high school, living the party scene, getting involved in drugs, popping pills, and like the later part of my life, really, I would say the darkest part of my life was when I used methamphetamines, and man, that drug was super crazy, messed up my mind so bad, always paranoid, and I always wanted to change, man. I tried to change, and I couldn't. I'd get clean maybe for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, but I'd go back to what I was doing, and finally in 2007 got locked up for 6 months over here in Claybank County Jail, and I started attending this Bible study every Wednesday. This guy, Brother Rick, used to come to lead a Bible study as a ministry, and I didn't really go for the right reasons. I was born in, if you're Filipino, you're born into Catholicism.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So it's straight up religion. I hated going to church growing up, and I remember the Bible that I had always picked up dust. I would actually, as a kid growing up, I'd put my Bible under my pillow, and felt like, just treated like it as if it had some magic power, right? Like,
Yeah.
But never really had a relationship with God. I had religion, and I had some superstitious form of religious, you could say, right? But I started attending these Bible studies while I was in jail, and something happened, man. It was like just a transformation from the inside out, because what had happened, like the first few weeks I was in jail, my boys would come see me, and there was some stuff going on with like issues with money and all that stuff, and I'd be like, hey, wait till I get out, whoop-de-whoop, we'll handle it with the OGs and stuff like that. But after I started attending these Bible studies, something happened. My boys would come visit me still, and I remember one time, like just after I would attend these Bible studies, I'd I'd start telling them to read their Bibles and go to church.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember my dad coming to visit me one time, and my dad's retired Navy, super firm, and he came to visit me one time, and he looked at me straight in the eye, and he was like, "Dennis, when you get out, what are you gonna do?" And I looked back at him straight in the eye and said, "Hey, Dad, don't worry about school, work, job, and all that stuff. God's going to take care of all that. Dad, you need to go to church. You need to read your Bible." And so, yeah, man, it was like, and so to circle back to what you said, you know, how you're captivated, you enjoy hearing people's story of how they changed and so forth. As I reflect on my own story, I tried to change, and it was something. The change that happened to me was something that I didn't bring upon myself. You know, I want to just testify to the grace of God in my own life in taking me from where I came from, like from the pit that He found me from, and lifting me up from the ashes, and not just saving me from my sins, but like, man, I'm a pastor, bro. Which is I preached a sermon a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, and I was just sharing my testimony. And I think I reached out to you, right?
Yeah,
and so I started messaging friends from middle school and in high school. And I was like, hey, man, if somebody told you like back then that I'd be a pastor, what would you say? And people were just like some of the stuff that people would say, like, yo, are you kidding me? Like, Dennis, a pastor?
Yeah.
And so I'm just so filled with gratitude. You know, that's really one of the main reasons why when you said, "Hey, are you interested in coming on my podcast?"
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I'd be down for that, because really, just I love sharing not my story and my accomplishments, but with what God has done in my own life. You know, to take me from my addiction, my gang life, and turn my life around and use it in a positive way, to influence the community instead of destroying the community. I want to take opportunity. I want to take that opportunity to be able to be a voice to people out there. I don't know if your viewers have friends or family that are struggling with addiction or whatever. You know, I just want to encourage you that there's hope in the gospel and what I believe in. You know, and like I said, growing up as a kid, I had religion, but I never really had a relationship with God, and I know that He's real because, man, He totally transformed me. You know,
yes, He did.
And it's so hard for people to believe that. When I used to work at the homeless shelter here in Fairfield, Mission Solano, I was a case manager for several years, but I would also lead Bible studies, and I would tell people I'd share my testimony here and there. And it was so hard for people to believe, right? Because at that point, I was wearing skinny jeans. I was like, I wasn't sagging anymore.
Yeah,
I wasn't wearing the long white
or
tees or anything like that. The military camouflage jacket or anything like that. And so people were like, man, like I just can't see. It was so hard for them to believe that I had come out from that. But you know, there's a verse in the Bible that says that with man things are impossible, but with God all things are possible. And so, to your viewers, if you have friends or family, or if it's you that struggle in life, you know, there's always hope. Your past never has to define you. There's always a positive future with when it comes to Jesus. He can turn your life around, man, like in a drastic way. Like, I'm still blown away. Like there are times where I literally just sit in bed, or I'm driving around town in Rochester, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm a pastor. Like, of all the things that I could have been in this world, like the last thing it wasn't even on my radar to be a pastor, man. But yeah,
that was one of the main reasons why I had to have you in front of me, because I feel like, you know, I if I could, I would go with you, fly to New York, and just give them the angle that I had. You know what I mean? Because you said you're having trouble communicating to your people to your church or whoever that listens to you who you used to be. And I was almost a witness to this evolution of Dennis because we've known each other since I was in 7th grade. That's like what, 13 years old.
Yeah, 7th grade. Yep.
Yeah. And first and foremost, I have to say this, dude. Since we've known each other, you've been nothing but like a big brother to me. You've always been nice. And if anything, you've always pushed me a little, like in a positive way. Like because me and your brother, we're still brothers. You know what I mean? I consider him a brother, and he was my best friend back in the day.
No, it's crazy.
And you always pushed me in a positive way. You'd be like, hey, maybe you should wear your clothes this way, or why are you so scared to talk to girls? Because I've always been this shy person, and I remember you've always pushed me to like keep on going, and it turns out that's what I need until this day. Like, like people, they know they have to constantly push me and get me out of my shell, even though I'm doing my own podcast. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And and one thing I've always like respected about you is, and I told you this the last time we were at PLB where we were talking together. One thing I respect about you most is, you used to be this person and then you got out of jail and you've changed, but you haven't forgot about who you used to be. Like, one thing I respect about you is you're always still chilling with the homies that weren't necessarily doing the things that you're doing anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And you always kept it real. I don't think that's the case for a lot of people. They're like, okay, this is why I was bad. But for you, it was like, no, this is a part of who I am. I don't know if I'm putting words into your mouth. No, you know what I mean?
You're not. It's one of those things. Like, I was just watching one of one of my. I'm a big fan of Manny Pacquiao. First of all, like, he got me watching boxing.
Yes, sir.
I started watching boxing because of Pac-Man, and even though I was I'm old enough that I could have been watching Tyson, right? But I wasn't into boxing back then. But one thing about Pacquiao is like he came from humble beginnings, and he never forgot where he came from, right? And that's why maybe to a fault, like, he's just. Sometimes it depends on your philosophy of how you want to, or how you view giving money away to the poor. Is that the best, most effective way? But like he does it because he knows where he came from, and he knows, and he's tasted the struggle, and so for me. That's that. I have that same perspective of like I've tasted the struggle. I know what the life that I used to live. I know what that's all about, and it's not like I'm living a different life, but these people that I used to run with are still a part of my life, And so even before I left, like we'd go hiking. Up in Pino Adobe, and so like these are still my peoples, and I used to tell them, I remember just a few of them, Tito, Trong, Hal, and all these cats. I'd be like, hey, I want y'all to know that I'm still here to ride with you guys. I'm down for you guys, but I'm not down for you guys the way that I don't expect me to be on the block ready to throw down with you guys like I used to back in the day. I'm constantly praying for these guys, and if I was still living here, if they needed me to watch their kid, I'm down, and I'd ride for them in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
That is life giving.
Yeah.
Rather than life depleting, life taking.
That's what I meant, by the way, when I was saying.
I totally knew that. And so, case in point, man, I don't know if you're Hal is locked up right now.
No, I didn't know that.
And yeah, he's looking at he's looking at life. And
wow.
But recently, and he's I still keep in contact with him. I chat with him over the phone, write letters and so forth. And over the years, like, God really put that man on my heart the heaviest. I constantly was praying for this dude, and anytime I'd see him at a function, I was always intentional to try to pull him to the side and be like, hey, I'll let him know, hey, there's another way. I just want you to know there's a way out of this life. You don't have to keep doing this. And then I'd share Jesus with him, but it wasn't until recently, he's been locked up since like November or October of 2019.
Oh wow.
He's still fighting a case. And but in one of his letters, he acknowledged, I know that all those times that you tried to reach out to me, that you really were looking out for my best interest, and that I just never listened. And it took him hitting rock bottom for God to finally get his attention. But he's there now, and that's the thing for him. Regardless of the outcome of his life, whether he spends life in prison or he gets out, I think he's at that place of genuine change, but all that to say, it's like these guys are still a part of my life, and I've gone through so much with them, and it's not like I'm turning my back on anybody. I'm turning my back on the streets, if anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm turning my back on a lifestyle, and I'm pursuing Jesus, and but I'm not turning my back on anybody, And I believe they all know that too, just with the conversations that I've had with them. So, yeah.
This is kind of a tangent, but it also relates because I've known Hal since we were in elementary school. We all went to elementary school down the street, and he was just always this little Asian kid, and we knew of each other. That's it. Until one day, I don't know if you remember this. Me and Alden, we were going to a soccer game at Armio. And you guys had a spot across the street from Armio. You would hang out there. I don't know whose house was that, but you guys were always there.
No. That was the spot.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if you remember this. This was like sophomore year. Me and Alden we had a soccer game, and it got canceled. And I parked literally in front of the house because I knew you guys were there. We said what's up before we went to go to the game, and we said goodbye. And everybody was there. Hal, On, DJ, Trung, Tito. I'm not even joking. This big dude, this big ass dude, I don't even know who he was. He was just so big. And I was like, wow, you're big. And I make a U-turn, and while I make a U-turn, a car pulls up and hits me, knocks the front of my GTA off, right? And then what happens is, not knowing that you guys were right there, they get out of the car and they come real nasty at me and Alden, and we're just like, what the hell? It was like 3 dudes and a girl, and they approach us like, they're just basically about to like they were saying like, what the fuck, this, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then me and Alden look over, and everybody in that house just starts rushing these 3 people. Hal leading the pack. And that's when I realized, like, oh, Hal, you're not the Hal I used to know. And I've never seen people run so fast, dude, but that's when that was the moment I realized, like, oh, these guys are serious. And then B, like, wow, like, that's when I gained respect for you guys. Like, cause I was always, when you guys became a thing and known around the 707, you guys scared me a lot. But then I realized, oh, if I keep them on my good side. So that's why I always kept it real with you. Because of that day, man, that's when I was like, man, that like, I feel like I was indebted to you guys because I was scared that day. When they approached me, I wasn't like, oh, I'm about to fuck these dudes up. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to get beat up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so 2 things, I realized like, oh, Hal's crazy in a respectful way. And then you guys, you were there though. I know you probably don't remember, but you were there. And I was like, man, dude, like I have so much respect for you guys because in a situation like that, I want to run.
Yeah.
You guys go straight into it like a bunch of fucking warriors. I know you guys did some fucking crazy shit, but there was another situation. You weren't there, but it was me, DJ, and then our homie Anthony got into some girl problems. Do you remember Anthony? Anthony, they used to call him Baby Blue Mac.
Man.
He used to roll with us, but
if I saw his face, maybe.
Yeah, probably. He's in the military now, but anyways, he got in some girl trouble, and we met up at Heritage Park. It was all of the SIP boys versus like this crew. And then I just remember being so scared. I was there just to back the crew up, but I was scared.
Yeah.
I was never a fighter. And then I just remember looking at your brother and thinking like, dude, this fool's just born in the wrong era. You know what I mean? Could you imagine if he was born 1,000 years ago, he'd be like the leader of his own city. Do you ever think about that? Because this fool like had no fear at all. He had his little burners on and he was ready to go. But thank God, your brother was actually the one that got us out because he knew like all of the crew that was about to beat up Anthony, and he's the one who calmed it down.
That's crazy.
But I that day, this was like in 2004 or 5. I saw your brother and I was like, oh, dude, he's just a dynasty warrior. Born in the wrong time. But that's when it all changed for me. I looked at you guys so different. I was like, these guys are super brave. And that's how I saw y'all.
Well, like,
you know what I mean?
Honestly, I wouldn't consider myself brave, bro. Like, the thing for me is, like, when it came, I threw down when I had to throw down, but, like, I was one of those guys who was like, I don't like getting into beef.
It didn't seem like
and honestly, like, so we went from a little Fairfield to soon small town, little clique. And then we got involved with a serious gang out in Oakland. And, but there were times where, like, honestly, man, like we'd be in heat of the moment, and like we're strapped up. Even if I was ever strapped up, like honestly, like I was like the kind of person, like if I have to, I'm going to do what I have to do. But deep down inside, it was like, man, I just like I don't want to hurt anybody. Like I don't want to kill anybody. Yeah, right. But if I had to, I like it just came with the territory of living that lifestyle. But deep down inside, it's just like, if I could avoid a fight, I'd avoid a fight, But like, I thought like there was just certain aspects of that lifestyle that I thought was cool at the time. Right. But yeah, man, like I was never really a fighter. Like it was just more like if the moment pushed me or forced me to do something, then I would, right? If somebody hurt somebody in that I was rolling with, then I would do what I have to do. But like if I could, I would. Every ounce or every fiber in me could avoid a fight, I would. I think the only reason why I got into as much trouble that I did was I was drinking a lot, or I was, and so that made me Superman, and at least I felt like Superman, and and back then, like now that I'm drinking now, but it's more I enjoy drinking, right? I was like we're sipping right now. I'd be just taking down shots, right? And I'd be drunk. I'd call my boys the next day. I'm like, what happened? Because I drink and I'd pass out. That was typical of me. And but I think that's probably one of the reasons why I got in so much trouble, or like just teed off on people or whatnot, or got into fights, was because like alcohol had a lot to do with that. But I like all that to say, because you were saying that's when I had a different kind of respect for you guys. Like you guys were crazy. I was like, I acted crazy and I did crazy things, but honestly, like deep down inside, it was just like, if I have to ride for my guys, I'm gonna do it. But like deep down inside, it was like, I really just want to chill and kick it, get drunk or whatnot. That's kind of like was my personality.
Well, if you guys were a marketing firm, you would be killing it, because you guys built this big bad wolf name, man. I was like,
everybody else though, I think they like my brother was.
You guys were some real ones,
he was a different. Like I think my brother was more of a beast than I was, as far as like he was always ready to go. I think
that's one thing I always respect about your brother, man. He's so loyal. It's like one of the most loyal dudes I'll ever meet.
Yes,
to his brothers, you know what I mean?
That he definitely has, and
no matter what, he'll be there.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I have to have you on here. I have to let people know how much you have changed, dude. Because, well, first of all, you've always been like this clown type of dude. You've always made everybody laugh, and I say clown in a positive manner. You know what I mean? You were always like the life of the room. If you never realized it yourself, dude.
No, I think I was.
You'd always pop your head in the garage while we were sessioning, and you just have like the funniest joke. Or like you'd be cracking on somebody, whether it be like Garcia or me, you know what I mean? And it was always funny in a positive manner, So just I've always been nice, and but it's just I can't say it enough. And one thing I did want to ask you about, if it's okay, am I allowed to ask about that 6 months in your
go ahead, man. Yeah, ask away.
Because I think outside of you and your brother. You're the only people I really know that have spent time in like prison or jail, and Oh no, never mind. I have a family member, but I didn't get to talk to him about it really because I was like too shy to ask him. You know, like obviously you came out a changed man. I still remember that day. We were right there. I had seen you for the first time, and it was like the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed because I think you said Jesus like 1,000 times. And you know, and even I mean. And I don't say that in a negative way. It's just
I hear you. I hear you.
Because even from that point to now, you have changed so much. You know, you let me get a word in. And I mean that in a positive way. I really do. But man, I have never talked to anybody so energetic and alive until that day. Boy, you were like, I was like, who are you? I think I said that when you asked me. I was like, I'd look into your eyes and tell you're the craziest person alive. So what I wanted to know is what happened in there. But first, let's start off like, what was it like? I always want to know, what was it like, dude? Just being, I'd be like, if that was me, I don't know what I'd do.
I was, I was afraid in the sense of the weeks leading up to my sentencing, I didn't know what was going to happen to me, right? And so I would, and like I said, at that point, we weren't a little Fairfield gang anymore. We actually had transitioned to a serious gang, and our OG was based out in Oakland, and so that's like we were under that, and so when I was awaiting sentencing, I'd hit up my boys and I'd be like, "Hey, what do I do when if I go to prison? We have people inside or whatnot." And so my mind was just inundated with like the future. I was like, of me spending a few years in prison, and so I was. There was a lot of anxiety and fear of the unknown. Of like, man, I was just so scared to go to prison, in the sense of like, prison politics, and like, what do I do if a riot breaks out? I'm gonna have to throw down. Well, like, am I gonna get killed or whatnot? And so I was just filled with so much fear, but at the same time, fear but ready, like. Because that's the life that I chose at that point. I was like, whatever, this is if that's what it's gonna be, then that's what it's gonna be. But at the same time, there was like, man, if I don't have to go that route, then I hope the DA or the judge doesn't give me prison time. And by God's grace, I got a few months in jail, and I did probation. But so I guess on an emotional level, I was struggling a lot with fear and anxiety of like, well, what's going to happen with me in my future? I thought my future was over because at that point I was like, that would have been like a career of crime for me in the gang life. If I would have gone to prison, I believe that would have happened. But for the most part, though, like aside from that, I just carried myself like normally, I guess. Like I tried to be cool with everybody up in there, and so there were a few times where I'd be having meals with guys in there, and they found out that was my first time actually being locked up for that long stint. Like back then, I'd do like a couple overnighters or whatnot, get drunk, get in trouble, get locked up, but I'd be out the next day because they didn't really have anything on me. But this time it was like 6 months in county jail, and there were some guys that were older than me, and when they found out, like while we were having a meal, I'm like, "Yo, this is your first time up in here? You seem like a veteran. Like I've been doing this my whole life, kind of thing." And it's because I guess you could say like I was a chameleon kind of guy. Like I could bounce around, cruise, and be cool with everybody. That's how it was for me in high school.
For sure,
right? I kick it with the Filipinos,
the football players,
and I kick it with the brothers.
Yep.
And I just knew how to be just fit in anywhere, right? I could adapt to any scenario with any group, and so I was able to do that in jail, and I just knew how to carry myself. I guess I knew how to talk. I knew how to talk to people, and I wasn't really trying to start beef with anybody.
Yeah.
And back then, like there was like typically a turnover of like the kind of bunkies that you would have. You call it like your cellmate, your bunkies, right? And when one bunkie leaves, you're like, man, who's gonna end up in here with me next? These people better not be crazy.
Yeah.
And but honestly, every bunkie, every cellmate that I had was cool. And so yeah, man, I think what really got me through that, like I said, was my faith in Jesus, reading the Bible every day, and learning how to just communicate with people and not start any beef. If you ever what you come to find out when you're in jail or in prison, is that the people that start the most beef are the youngsters. Because I'd like in the 6 months that I was there, like OGs would come in and out, right? Like OGs, older guys. And they knew how to, they would just know how to do time.
Yeah.
They knew, like, if they had to throw down, they would throw down, but they weren't, they were just there to do time. They were trying to get in and out. But it was the youngsters that you had to really watch out for. They're the cats trying to build a name for themselves. And so there's the 18-year-olds, 20-year-old, 24, 25, 26. But you guys got, you got cats that are like 40, 50, 60-year-old, like, and just have been seasoned in the street life. They're the ones that like if they need to throw down, they will, but they're really not looking for any beef because they know what to do.
And they've done that kind of deal.
And so the guys that you really had to watch out for were the youngsters always trying to start beef. And so, but yeah, man, I like, for as far as my time there, I got through my day reading books and doing like 1,000, literally like 1,000 push-ups a day.
Yeah.
No joke. And now that I've studied more like just how to maximize weight training and physique and all that, and like that's not the way to go. But when you're in your cell,
well, you've never
like
been in the middle type of guy, Dennis. It was either like one way or the other for
well,
you.
yeah. So, but you're locked up in your cell 22 hours a day, right? Unless you go to court, you get a couple more hours, or you got your Wednesday Bible study. You're in there 22 hours a day, and so you're either reading or you're working out. And you just get bored in there sometimes. And so
the fear eventually went away while you were in there?
The fear went away once I got sentenced. Once I knew I wasn't going to prison, like just the anxiety just died down. And also at that point, looking back in retrospect, I know that God changed me from the inside out. But when as it was happening, I didn't know what happened to me, bro. Like I seriously did not know that God changed me. All I knew was that on a daily basis, I wanted to read the Bible. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a chore, right? Like I enjoyed it. I still have my Bible from jail, like all the underlines that I had. I really genuinely enjoyed reading the Bible, praying, going to Bible studies, talking to people about Jesus. And so that was the main thing that got me through. But after I got sentenced, I just knew how to do my time at that point. It was just like, I know that I'm going to get out. I'm not going to prison. And so did what I had to do. And I worked. And so that was a big part too, working. I worked. Initially, they had me work in the yard doing landscaping, mowing, and all that stuff. Yeah. But I think because of my my conviction, it was a gun charge and so forth. They put me back inside, and so I was working the laundry for like a good four months in jail. Oh shit. But it was actually pretty cool. The people that I work with. Got to know, man, in jail, people come from all walks of life. It's not just gangsters, addicts that are in there. Man, so many people, so many different kinds of people walk through jail. So,
sorry, who's that? Is that my dad? Oh, did he leave? Sorry, Dad. Sorry about that, Dennis. For those of you listening, we're doing the podcast at my parents' house because Mad Alpaca is open right now. So thanks for being so understanding, Dennis. But okay, interesting. That's because one thing I always used to like to watch were like prison shows,
Yeah.
And I know if you're doing television, you have to kind of make things hyperbolic, but I would just see these people and I just like, I don't understand how a human being can go through this because it just seems so scary.
Well,
so just
the thing you got to understand too is that jail and prison are two different worlds.
Okay. Yeah.
I was in jail. I wasn't in prison. And jail to prisoners would be like timeout.
Wow.
Because when you go to prison, there's what's called prison politics, man. Like gangs have rules. It's segregated. You got the whites, the blacks, and then you got the others. That's pretty much everybody else, right? And so in jail, it's just it's a lot more tamed than prison. Like I didn't necessarily. Like the worst thing that I feared in jail was like getting in a fight and beat up or whatnot if I had to throw down. But in prison, you could lose your life in there possibly. Like if you look at somebody the wrong way or whatnot, or you get into some beef, it's a different kind of world in there. And so, there was just more, jail is just a lot different.
What were you looking up? What your sentence could have been? What could have been?
If I would have went to prison, 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah. But not compared to some, man, like there are guys that I know that have become Christians that have spent 20, 30 years in prison. Like, can you imagine?
No.
I'm 36. I had to think about that actually. Right before,
Yeah, I know what
like,
you mean.
Thinking about my age, I was like,
I feel you.
And but yeah, man, it's just insane to think about like the length of time that people spend in prison, and it's insane.
Yeah. So you kind of answered my next question already, but you said you didn't even realize that God had changed you. Because my question to you was going to be, was there just like a day where like a light bulb went off and you're like, oh shit?
No.
Because that's how I saw it. You were like, oh, Dennis of the old is gone. Here's the Dennis of the new.
It wasn't, man. It just like my priorities just changed. Like, and so like I said earlier, looking back in retrospect, I didn't know what happened as it was playing itself out, right? That interchange. In John chapter 3, Jesus has this conversation with a religious man. And not just any religious man, like the religious man, like a scholar of the day. And his name was Nicodemus. And he said, unless a man is born again, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. And then he goes on and he says, unless a man is born again, he can't see the kingdom of God. And that idea, that metaphor that Jesus uses, being born again, like we don't give ourselves birth, right? We don't birth ourselves into existence. And so what happened to me as it played out, as it happened, I had no idea what had happened. I just, there was just just this drastic change in my appetite, my desires, and my pursuit in life just changed. I wanted to read God's word. It wasn't a chore to me. I actually desired to do that. And this is I know that it was just genuine because like I remember there was a few guys that I was locked up with, and we would have Bible studies and so forth. And one time, one of the guys had beef with a guy in another cell block, but they found out a way to like break the door, the dividing door open. There was a door that brought you into the next cell and so forth. And the guy that I was having Bible study with, he had beef with somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, we're about to throw down." And I would tell the guys, I was like, "Well, what are you guys doing? Like, we're saying that we're followers of Jesus, then shouldn't we live a different way, right?"
Yeah.
And so there was just a different desire and pursuit in my life. And when I got out of jail, I actually went back to the streets. I started getting drunk again. I started drinking and kicking it on the streets, and going out to Oakland, kicking it with the boys and the homies. And but I didn't like it in the sense of like I'm getting drunk and the atmosphere. I was like, man, this isn't me anymore. And I remember one time that there was this strong sense of conviction in my heart. Because typically, like my family would go to midnight mass at Holy Spirit on North Texas, and but I told my mom, I was like, hey, there's this church, First Christian Church, right around the corner from our house in Sassoon. I told my mom that I'm going to try this church out. But like maybe a few weeks before that, I told my mom that was Christmas, right? And I had this strong sense of conviction in my heart, where it almost seemed as if God was impressing on my heart, I didn't save you to go back into this lifestyle. I saved you for something else. And that's when I started to really ponder my decisions of like, all right, God, you really called me for something else. And I kind of just sensed that because of like, I didn't like that lifestyle anymore. And, but I was afraid. Because like I said earlier, the gang that I had joined wasn't this wannabe little small town gang. The gang that I joined was serious. National Geographic Channel actually did a special on them. And so I was like, what do I do? What's going to happen to me or my family if I hop out, right? And so I remember having I remember vividly, dude. It was at night. I was just praying to God, and I said, God, all right, I'm trusting you. I believe that you changed my life, and that I'm going to surrender my life to you. I'm going to pursue you. I'm going to follow you, and you're responsible for my life and for my family's life. I don't know what's going to happen at the other side of this door of me walking out from the gang life, from the street life, but I'm entrusting all of that to you. And sure enough, I did. And I called up my boy and I said, hey, I can't live this life anymore. I'm following Jesus. And so I don't know what you guys expect from me, and I don't know what you guys want from me, but I can't live this life and follow Jesus. I got to choose Jesus. And the conversation that at the end of that conversation was like, I could respect that. We'll let you walk. And but there was this disclaimer at the end, like, but if we ever see you with another set, like, we know that you were blowing smoke in our face, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But at that point, I was like, I wasn't afraid, because I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing with my life. And so by God's grace, he gave me a way out where some people don't have that. And so, yeah.
Man, I didn't know that about you. Cause we peek into each other's lives like every now and then, you and I, and we catch up. And I just always assumed from that day when we talked in front of my dad's store that was it. Oh, Dennis came out of jail a new man, which you did. But I didn't even realize that you were kind of dipping back into the old life.
At that point when I met you, I was already full blown. I was walking with Jesus.
Okay, you were
already.
Gotcha.
Because that happened in when I had when I prayed that and I started going back to the streets, I got out in July 2007, right before my birthday. And DJ and Tito had picked me up from jail. First thing I did was like, hey, take me to Holy Spirit. Bowed before the Mary statue. Prayed my prayer. Yeah. It wasn't only until later I was like reading the Bible. I was like, I can't even find this anywhere in the Bible that I should be praying to Mary. But that's all I knew.
Yeah.
But from July till about December, beginning of December, I was back in the streets, kicking it. And that time period, that's when I was doing that, but I didn't like it. Like deep down inside, I was like, this ain't me.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody that. It was just like an internal struggle in my soul of like, I felt like I didn't fit in. And that's when, like towards the tail end of that, I sensed that strong conviction from God of like, I didn't save you for that. I saved you for something else. And, man, that was the best choice that I ever made to turn my life, to turn my back on the streets. And because at that point, there was no turning back. God just used me left and right, man, in people's life. And I'm a pastor now. the as you know, I attend a Muay Thai gym, like an MMA gym, but I only do Muay Thai right now. I look at the jiu-jitsu guys and I was like, yo, that's too complicated for me. I'll do that later. But yeah, there's this one guy that I met about a month in at the gym that I was that I'm attending, and I had a conversation with this cat the first day he came, and by the time he came, I was about a month in. And I knew he was new, and I was like, I don't really want to hold pads for this guy.
Yeah.
I want to grow. I want to learn today. But I felt God nudging on my heart, like literally. It was like, hey, go hold pads for this guy. And young black kid, man, 26 years old. And after that class, I'm walking out. He's walking out with me, and I strike up a conversation with him. And come to find out, he's. I asked him, like, hey, what do you do for work? And he looks down, discouraged, right? Almost had this like hopeless like demeanor about him. And he was like, I'm not even working right now. I'm fighting a gun charge. And I was like, immediately, I was like, oh, all right, God, I know.
That's crazy.
You know,
that's crazy.
It was crazy because
Mm-hmm.
I got caught up for a gun charge here. And that's why I went to jail. And so he starts sharing his story with me. This cat is like just living the street life and all that. And that conversation that night led to me sharing the gospel and talking about Jesus with him for about a good 35 minutes. And got to, over the months, built a relationship with this cat. And just about a couple months ago, he gave his life to Jesus, turned his life on the streets. And but it was a long time coming because he was still going through the court cases, right? Fighting his case. And me and my wife would go to support him at his court hearings. And, bro, I'm telling you, he had a paid lawyer. And every time I'd go to his court hearings, I was like this. I had a bad taste in my mouth with when it came to his lawyer. It was almost as if his lawyer didn't really care.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, this dude's, like, tripping. Like, this guy doesn't, like, doesn't really have... It didn't seem like he had his best interest in mind. It was almost as if what I'm going to do for you is get you the least amount of prison time. Because I remember one court date that me and my wife went to, the judge was like, hey, it's do or die next week. If you don't make a decision by next week, you either take this 2-year prison sentence that we're offering you, or you take it to trial. Anytime you take a case to trial, the jury always gives you pretty much like the worst amount of time that you can get.
Yeah.
And so I was praying for this cat, and I already had a good relationship with him. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I could do more. And so I wrote the DA a letter, but I also, I emailed, and then I went to the office and I wrote a hard copy advocating for this young cat. And then I remember one day I was like, you know what? I'm just not sure if she'll get it. Like she has a stack. When I dropped off the hard copy, she had a stack.
Yeah.
And so I called the office, the DA's office, and I was like, hey, my name is Dennis. I'm a pastor here in Rochester, and I'm calling because I'm advocating for this young man right now, and I just want to make sure that the DA received my letter advocating for him. And the DA's assistant was like, hey, when did you email this letter? And I told her, I think it was like July 23rd or something like that. And July 26th, 2-something p.m., 2:23. I remember because like this is fresh, right? Because I really was like just so involved in this young man's life. And she looked for it. She couldn't find it. She said, hey, you said you submitted a hard copy, right? And so she looked for that, couldn't find it. She said, can you just forward me the email again? And I said, yeah, sure. It's right here in front of me right now. I forward it. She prints it out, puts it on the DA's desk. And maybe a couple hours later, the DA sends me an email saying, thank you, Mr. Opolentisima. I've received and I've your letter. I've reviewed Mr. So-and-so's case, and I think I have everything I need to grant him your request of probation instead of prison. And then the next day, I get a follow-up email, and she says, thank you so much for advocating for this young man. I have decided to grant him your request of probation. And mind you, this is what his lawyer has been trying to get for him. But the lawyer, every time we'd go over there, my wife and I would go to his court hearing, the lawyer would say, we've contacted the DA. She hasn't responded to me yet. And this was in a span of several months. But in the span of a few hours, a few days, the DA responds to me saying, like, you know what, I've granted your request of giving Mr. So-and-so probation, because that's what his lawyer was trying to get him. And all that to say, man, it's just like the testimony of like just God moving in people's life and changing people.
That's so beautiful, man.
It's crazy.
That is so. You're a lawyer now.
No, the lawyer.
That's amazing.
I just I saw myself in this young man.
Yeah.
And so I did what I had to do. I wrote the DA petition letter, but I also went to my church. We've got about 150 people, and I had relationships with a lot of people at the church now, and I said, hey, I wrote up a petition for this young man, and I got several signatures from the church, and I submitted that to the DA as well. But I gave his lawyer a copy. And I kid you not, man, this lawyer looked at that petition, and I said, hey, I've been mentoring this young man, and he's been showing just fruits of change. Like, he's determined to make his life better. And can you let the judge know that he has a spiritual mentor, and that he's got a church rallying behind him to really rehabilitate his life? And here's a petition to prove that. And look, I still see the look on the lawyer's face. Yeah, I'll take a look at this. Like, dismissive, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, and every court hearing that I attended, but he'd tell the judge, like, I've contacted Sandra Dorley, that's the DA of our district. She still hasn't gotten back to me. But in a span of just a few days and just me contacting the DA, she responds. She ends up granting this young man his probation instead of prison time. And I don't say any of that, man, to kind of just puff me up or make myself look good or sound as if I'm important. But the like just where God has taken me from, man, it's It's a blessing to be here right now, just with you and your podcast, to share this with you, because we like, you think about the times that we live in, man. It's so divisive, so polarized in our nation, and so many people just fighting. Nobody wants to really listen to anybody. They just want to speak their opinion or whatnot, and there's just so much evil happening in this world, man. But like, in the midst of all that, even with me sharing my life, my story, and what God's done in my life, and what God's done in this young man's life to turn his life around, there is still a God that's so intimately involved in bringing hope in this world. So,
yo, you won't say it, but I'll say it. Like, fuck that lawyer, dude, for not doing his job.
Yo, so
I'll say it, man. Dude, you got this dude essentially, like, out of prison, man.
It's all God, dude. And he had one more court hearing that was scheduled, and I said, hey, do you still? He's already been granted probation, because the DA said that he was granted probation, but I still was asking him, do you still have to go to that last court date? Because I got some words for your lawyer.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to like really give it to him, not necessarily to give him some words, but to let him know, like, yo, this is somebody's life. Like, it matters.
Yes.
And just because he did something, like, you know, there's stuff that he's done in his life, but coming from where I came from, I know that people can change, and the gospel has the power to do that. And so I was just so irritated. I was like, I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I was pissed off,
For sure.
because this lawyer dismissed all of the good things that this young man was doing, and his attempts to really turn his life around. And so I wanted to give him some lip, man. And I married this young cat, bro, in my backyard.
That's so cool, dude.
He's got a
cool.
baby coming, and so just think that's really what that one of the things that fueled me. First of all, like, my story, like, I knew, like I said, it was as if this young man was me, back in the day, and I wanted to reach out. But knowing his life circumstance, that he really is attempting to change and turn his life around, but also that he has a baby coming, he has a wife now. I'm like, are you going, like, you're his lawyer. You should be going all out for this man, especially the dude's paying you. And but at the end of the day, it's like a life, you know. He's just not just like, I didn't want this young man to be another statistic. I knew that he had potential. I know he still does. And so, yeah.
Dude, man.
I just ramble, bro.
No, this is no, you're not. But like, that's such an amazing story. Dennis Opolentisima, from hurting people to helping people. Just kidding. Not hurt. You didn't hurt nobody.
Honestly,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, back in the day.
I was just thinking about your movie title. That's what it would be if you ever got a movie, man. Wow, I was not expecting that. That is so cool, man. Like, and you know, one thing I just don't like anymore, or just, I don't think anybody should like that, is just you yourself. You pour your heart and soul into your job. 100%. I can just tell. I'm talking to you right now. Your job, a pastor, this is what you do. This is who you are. Me. What I do right now, I'm a chef. I have restaurants, and me and my wife, we pour our hearts and souls into what we do. This is what we do right now. And for just to hear for someone who has someone's life in their hands and he's kind of just writing him off, like, this is your job, dude. You should take this serious. You decided to become a lawyer, responsible for someone's life. And you're just going to half-ass it. I hate half-assers. Dude. I hate, and I can say that because I used to be one. You know what I mean? And it's just, but at this point in our lives, I'm pretty sure he was like around our age, if not older. You should know better. You should know better not to just be that way.
Older.
Yes. You know, if you're acting like that, like, shame on you. And I don't know. I'm just ranting now.
No, like that's what if you would ask my wife, she knows the frustration that I had with this dude lawyer, and because you're messing with just this dude's future. Like, you have the kind of influence and power to do what you can to turn his life around and to help him. And he was like you said, kind of just half-assing it. It's like, come on, man. Yeah. So,
you're a college graduate now, huh?
I am. It's
I had to bring. I knew that. I had to bring it up. It's amazing. Congratulations, man.
Right on, man.
From like two of the least studious dudes at Vanden High to like college graduation.
I barely graduated.
Yeah.
I think they gave me a D in that one class, in my history class, just to get me out. They didn't want to see me back for another year. Not even at Tech High. Is it still called Tech High?
I don't even know, but like, if you went to Tech, you already know, dude.
But yeah, I think they were just like so done with me, man.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, like, just Dennis, like, it's just because I know you, and you're a college graduate, you're a pastor, and you're pretty much like co-leading this church, right?
Yeah. So I'm not the main guy. I don't even preach every Sunday.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want to get there again. When I was still here pastoring in Fairfield, I was the guy I was preaching every week. I was in charge of the entire church. But the church that I'm pastoring now in Rochester, I'm the associate pastor, and I oversee kids ministry and students. So pretty much from the nursery all the way to 12th grade is my responsibility. I'm responsible for all the volunteers that help out in that, and also just the kids and students in that are involved in those ministries. And it's just crazy, right?
Dude, you're like, literally a leader in a community.
And the thing is, when I was like, God just harnessed I always had this sense of like, I always wanted to be a leader. Yeah. Even back when I was like in the streets, I was like, man, I wanted to make it to the top. I had aspirations to make a lot of money selling drugs and doing all this and so forth. I had big dreams, street dreams, and ideas of making it to the top. And but God just really turned my life around and harnessed my desire to lead in a different way, in a more positive, life-giving way. You know, so it's It's amazing, man. Like all I can say is I just give all the glory to Jesus.
Yes,
If you have followers or anybody watching this right now, man, that don't believe in Jesus, I just want to let you know, like you're looking at the evidence of how powerful Jesus is. That he's not just some figment of our imagination. He's not just a fairy tale. He actually is involved in this world, and he's in the business of changing lives, turning lives around. So.
I know we're over an hour, but if I can borrow you for maybe about 10 to 15 more minutes, I do have just 2 more questions. One thing, and you still got a little bit more time?
I do,
okay,
man.
This could turn into a little bit longer, but I have to ask because I know maybe you're not familiar. You haven't. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the 37th episode, so you got a lot of listening to do. But along the way, I've been very open about this journey that I'm on right now, this personal religious journey, where I have been questioning a lot of things about my own personal faith, and I've been open about it on this podcast with my wife, who's like the most Catholic religious person, till then, like proudly, I love that about her.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ is like who he is to you. Mm-hmm. So well, I don't know if that's a safe assumption, but yeah, maybe. But
yeah.
Something happened a couple of years ago. I lost somebody, and it really shook me. It really made me question a lot of things. And so I've been on this journey about asking, and my main question is just, how are you so sure? How do you know that when we close our eyes forever, when we die, that there's something there waiting for us? How do you know? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
No, I will answer that.
That's a real tough question.
And the question that, or the answer that I would have is that my greatest assurance is that there is there's 2 things that, as far as there are different worldviews that a person can have.
Yeah.
Right. A person can have a naturalistic or materialistic worldview. Typically you would have your evolutionist, right? You have your Big Bang Theory and so forth, and simple cell organism turns out like after billions and billions of years, this is what you have out of that worldview. And if you hold to that worldview, it's almost like pointless, right? If that's a kind of worldview that you hold to. I remember being in Solana Community College and attending an astronomy class, and I asked my professor. I said, "Hey, I think Professor Peterson was
Fly by Phil." Was it Fly by Phil?
No, I don't think so.
That's who I took. I'm sorry.
I asked Professor Peterson. I was like, "Hey, so I've been reading our textbook and this idea about this theory of evolution and so forth, and if I hold to that worldview and if I believe in that, why does it matter? If everything started from the Big Bang and we're here where we're at today, why should I care being in school right now? Why should I care getting a degree if at the end of it, I close my eye and I go back and there's nothing after this world? It's just emptiness, right? At the end of the day, life becomes meaningless and pointless, right? But when I read the Bible, there's a sense of sense and harmony that gives purpose to why the world is the way that it is and where it's leading and so forth. And so I would say that how do you know that is more a question in the realm of not necessarily ontology, or more so epistemology of I take God at his word, right? And my question for you is, are you, at the end of the day, everybody has faith in something. And are you willing to stake your life on whatever it is that you believe in? And so if you don't if you don't believe what the Bible says to be true or what we have waiting for us on the other side of this life, are you confident enough with what you believe in to deny or not believe that? And I don't have that much faith to believe in something other than that, right?
Yeah.
And so does that make? I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes
no,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. No, you're not the only person I've asked on this podcast. So yeah. I just like to get like different looks and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for answering that. Beautiful. And last but not least, completely non-related, I just wanted to talk about how you have recently found Muay Thai. I love that. And that's one thing I have been wanting to talk about on this podcast for the longest time. And just, it's such a life-changing thing once you kind of just get punched in the face and know what it's like or kicked in the fucking thigh, dude. Oh my God.
It is. Yeah.
So what is it about for you that you love about Muay Thai so much?
You know what? The first time, so growing up, I grew up in the 90s, and so I love watching Jean-Claude Van Damme, bro.
Yeah.
Bloodsport, kickboxer. But growing up as a kid, I never trained. I always wanted to. I had friends that trained karate, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I just, I never did it. I don't even remember ever asking my dad, like, hey, can I sign up for karate?
Yeah.
I just never did it. And so now that like I've started training, there is something about growing and personal development and seeing myself like there's something about training itself that is addicting in a good way.
Yes.
Because and me and my wife had actually argued about this because I was like spending hours and hours at the gym, like seriously. Yes. I would spend like even now I would probably spend 4 or 5 hours a week training at the gym. I take my lunch breaks because the gym is like literally 5 minutes down the road, and
you go train.
What was that?
And you'll go train?
And I'll train.
Beautiful.
For my lunch break. And sometimes there's a morning class at 9 a.m. and I'll take my lunch break at 9 a.m. just to train. That's Thursday mornings. And I've just grown to love everything about the sport, the technique. And it's not just when you're a spectator of the sport, whether it's MMA, kickboxing, or whatever, you see. Sometimes people see like, oh, it's just two people trying to beat each other up. Yep. There's actually, in boxing, they would call it the sweet science, right?
Yeah.
But in kickboxing and MMA, there's a science to it. There's technique to it, and I love that about it. You know, just growing in technique, learning the science of Muay Thai, and so. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's so hard to explain.
Yeah.
Because when you start training, you fall in love with it, and so, because it's not like I'm trying to knock anybody's head off or anything. Like, I just love the training. I love pushing my the limits to my own body. And seeing how far I can go, but I also love seeing myself, the self-development in the training. So
how long you been training now?
Only since February.
Dude, I watched the video that you sent to the little group. You're nice with it already, man. I've seen it. Do you think like your previous like fights from life already have played a factor or no? Dude, you're nice with it already, dude.
Somebody
the
told
way
me
I looked for training for like 3 months is not how you looked from February to now. That's crazy,
Somebody had told me the other day, a couple days ago, they were like, oh, it's Man, it's because I show him, I sent him a link to one of my sparring sessions, and I'm like, oh, it's Dennis the Most. That's what some of the cats used to call me that. No, not Dennis, but Menace the Most.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that cat only. Back in the day, I used to think I could fight.
Yes, right?
I couldn't really fight. Now that I'm training, I'm like, I would beat me up back
That's
in the day.
the biggest thing, like, you learn right away. It's like, oh, yeah, I didn't know shit.
Yeah, dude,
I did
it
not
is
know
insane.
shit.
But yeah, it's I just love it, man. Like, just every time there are a few classes, man. Like, I get frustrated because my coach would just get on me, like, hey, you're not throwing that jab right, or you're not throwing do this right. Your technique, your form is right, and I'm like, I feel like I'm doing it and correctly, but then the when I look back or think about it, and or when I finally do it right, I'm like, oh, okay, I actually did it correctly. And so, yeah, I guess it's just seeing myself grow and develop in any sport, not just in Muay Thai, because I recently just got into triathlon. I ran my first triathlon a month ago, and I hate swimming. I don't hate swimming. I just am not a good swimmer. And so that was my biggest fear. I was like, I need to work on my swimming. Otherwise, I don't want to drown.
Yeah.
Because we swam out on Lake Ontario, open water swim. And so there's just this thing about me. There's this drive in me these days of I think I can do it.
Yes.
And so with Muay Thai, it's the same thing. I actually tried to get on a fight card in November for an amateur kickboxing fight that I believe with the promoter company it would have been televised on UFC Fight Pass.
What?
But because I was like, you know what, I think I can do it. And so I told my coach, because my coach put it out on our Facebook page, and he was like, hey, send me your weight class and your age, and if you're interested in getting on this fight card, let us know. And so I just sent him a message like, hey, coach, I'm interested. Here's my weight class and so forth. And he was like, there are a few more things we got to work on, maybe early next year. So, but I try to get on a fight card.
Dude, I love that. I love that about you. Another thing I respect about, I was just telling Erico how I almost think it's like a weakness now when I have that, because I have the same attitude. It's like, I can do that. You know, like I can open up another restaurant, or I think I can get into that fight. So it's almost a problem because I think I can do everything. So
no,
I don't see it as a weakness. I'm just saying like it could be because like I just want to do everything.
Yeah,
I'm spreading myself thin now. You know what I mean? So
no, it could be a problem if you're not like certain risks are right.
Yeah.
Calculate, not even just like I guess you could say calculated risks are right, but there's this saying, right? I forget how you word it, but you're something along the lines of you're gonna miss every pitch that you don't swing at.
Yes.
Right? Something like that.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so for me, it's like I just want to know, because even if I fail, I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Right? Like a lot of people, they're so crippled by fear that they become they become inactive, right?
Yeah.
Or they're so crippled by fear that they don't do anything.
Yes.
And for me, that used to be me back in the day, and I think I still am, but more so these days. I'm like, you know what? If I fail at this, like even if in that triathlon that I just did, I was like, I'm like, even if I finish last, like I'm cool with that, because I just want to see I want to see if I can do this.
Yeah.
And even with the fight that I wanted to be on that fight card, like I just want to see if I can actually do this. Like if I'm willing to do the hard work that's necessary to get me where I want to be, that's really one of the what drives me, right? And we nowadays, from my perspective on life, is like if I fail, it's okay, because I can learn from those mistakes. And so Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a we all need a certain degree of risk in our life, that willingness to take that calculated risk and not be afraid to fail.
Yep.
I've already been failing all my life. Like, like if I add another failure to me, it's like, that's not necessarily a fear that I think that the fear, I have more of a fear of not taking that step, of walking through that door, because at that point, I'll never know. It'll always be a what if.
Yep.
Right. And so, but even if I fail, I can say like, I tried. And so, yeah.
I couldn't have said it any better. This life is too short to not try things just because you're scared. And what better way to end that podcast but on that note? Dennis, thank you so much for your time, flying all the way from New York just to be on my podcast. No, just kidding. But seriously though, man, you're an inspiration to many. You're an inspiration to me. And just keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you too, brother.
Peace out.
Deuces.